So, hello. So something very exciting is container and Docker. Okay, maybe you have heard about, container and Docker and what is it? Okay, and you will see that Docker is very used in Unix and Linux environment, less in Windows. Okay, so let's first do a comparison about what is different between a VM and a container. Okay, so VM, you can create them since a lot of years. Okay, so you know what is a VM? A VM is you have your host here, so it's a physical host like HP, IBM or Dell, and you will install on your physical host an hypervisor. Okay, it's a thin layer between virtualization. So this is really like a full computer, full server with guest OS. You have your bean library and your application, and here, for example, you have a free VM. Okay, and these VM are completely isolated, okay, independent. Okay, so VM and container are virtualization technology used to provide isolated and portable computer environment for application. When I say portable, it's not really right, okay, because it's very difficult. Okay, it's not like you just drag and drop, but it's very difficult when you have an Hyper-V VM or a VMware or Xen to be able to take this VM and to make it work on another hypervisor. Okay, so for example, you have Hyper-V and you want your Hyper-V to run on VMware. You cannot do that like this. Okay, you must first, for example, export your VM in a OVA format and import it. Okay, and sometimes it doesn't really work. Okay, so and it's quite heavy because the VM is very heavy. You have the guest OS, so and it's running on an hypervisor. Okay, with container, it's completely different. Okay, it seems like a VM, it's not a VM. Okay, so you have still your physical server, or often it's a VM here. Okay, and you install your operating system, so either Windows, either Linux, and here you install your container engine. It's often known as Docker engine. And you see that you create container, and in container you don't have the guest OS, so it's more thin, more very speed to run to create a container. It's very easy, and you just create them in some second. Okay, and inside you can create all the environment that your developer need. Okay, because container is very used in Docker for dev guys. Okay, more than for more than Windows guy. Okay, for example, in Amazon Web Services or even Google GCP or Azure, most of the web application website are in a container. Okay, you can't have it in a VM, but of course it's more like in a container. Okay, or it can be like it can be in a VM, but it's really fantastic for that. Okay, so VM simulate an entire computer. Okay, you know what is a VM. Okay, you have operating system, user mode, and its own kernel mode. Okay, a VM is quite agile. I'm not okay with that. It's not very agile. Okay, however, VMs tend to be large and can take a lot of resources from the host VM here. When you create a VM, it can be 4 gig, 8 gig, 16 gig. Here with a container, it can be meg. Okay, megabyte. Okay, this is amazing. So when you install container technology on a computer, each container creates an isolated lightware silo used for running an app on the host operating system. And a container builds upon and shares most of the host operating system kernel to gain access. Okay, so that the operating system is here. The operating system are not here. Okay, on the container. So it's isolated. Okay. So to an application, a container appears to be a complete operating system. The CPU, memory, storage, and network resources are virtualized with the container isolated from the host platform. Okay, so and of course, this is important to know that today, Google GCP, for example, create 1 billion of container every week. It's crazy. Okay, and AWS Web Services like Hadoop use a lot of the container here. Okay, so this is really the difference between the two of them, and it's so important, of course. So now let's see what is Docker. Okay. So Docker is very known. Okay, Docker is a collection of open source, so you can install Docker on your workstation, Windows 10, Mac OS, and server. So it's a collection of open source tools, solutions, and cloud-based services that provide a common model for packaging, okay, or containerizing app code, okay, into a unit. And this unit is called a container. So it's software wrapped into a complete file system that includes everything it needs to run: code, runtime, system tools, system library, or anything you can install on a server. And the Docker engine is a very lightweight runtime. It's like a VM kernel, okay? It's very, and it can run on Linux, macOS, and Windows-based operating system. But like I told you, Docker is more in Linux, of course. So install, if you want to install Docker on Windows Server, okay, we don't use a lot of it, okay, not a lot, okay. So for example, when we do a lab, we can install like, you know, Docker core, you know, it's a Docker with very Docker core. It's very light version of Windows Server. You can use one-get provider PowerShell module published by Microsoft called Docker Microsoft Provider. And this provider enables the container feature in Windows and install a Docker engine on the client, okay? So how is it? If you want to use Docker, you must have an image, okay? An image is like, we can say, it's not exactly like, it's like an ISO. You know, when you create a VM, you have an ISO with Windows 10, Windows 2019, Linux, okay? An ISO, everybody knows what is an ISO, okay? But with Docker, it's not an ISO anymore. We're not in VM anymore, okay? So you must like pull an image, okay? Pull is when you get an image from Docker Hub, okay? So let's see what is Docker Hub. Let's go here. I am in my for example, Hyper-V here, okay? It's an Hyper-V server, okay? And I can, if I want, show you what you have in Docker Hub, okay? So here, if I type Docker Hub, okay, Docker Hub is a repository. Imagine that the repository is like, for example, a share or you know, in the storage where you copy and you download all the ISO that you need to create VM. It's the same thing, but it's not ISO like I told you. It's image. Okay. So when you go in Docker Hub here, okay. Maybe I'm going to go here directly because with IE really doesn't work at all. Okay, so let's go in Docker Hub here. It's going to be better. Docker Hub. And here in Docker Hub, when you do explore here, you have so many images. Okay, so when you take an image, you pull the image, and when you push it, you take an image and you save it again in a repository. So for example, you have Alpine, you have Portugis, you have Python, you have Redis, you have Mongo, Node, NGX. It's like a web server only for Linux, MySQL. So, for example, you need MySQL. You will not run a VM and install MySQL. You have it ready to use here. Amazing. You see how many people downloaded, okay? It's just 1 billion. Crazy. You have MariaDB, Docker, you have HTTPD, Hello World, Open, and so many here, okay? So the thing is that when you use Docker here, I put it in slideshow, sorry. So you just install the Docker, okay? And remember that the Docker is a Docker engine, okay? So remember that Docker is a Docker engine. And Docker engine is very lightweight. Okay, you can run it on Linux, macOS, like I told you. And after you have a Docker client, it's just, you know, the client that you use in the CLI. You run some command, okay? And you can install Docker on Windows Server. I will show you after. And you can even install it on Windows 10, okay? And it can be nice, okay, if you want to do some tests here, okay? So if you want to install it on for example, on Windows 10, the name is Docker Desktop, okay? So if you want to try it, for example, on Windows 10, you just have to install Docker Desktop, okay? If you want to do some try, okay, the Docker Desktop for Mac and Windows, okay? So if you want to have a Mac and you don't have a server and you just want to try it, okay? So you can download for Windows or Mac or Linux, okay? But it's just to do some tests here, okay? It's not a production, of course. So you just have to download it, and you can start to see how it's working, do some POC, some demonstration, okay? So yeah, it can be very, very nice. And remember that to pull an image, you must have Docker Hub, okay? So you have so many container image that are ready to be used, okay? And you have some example of some command that we use often. For example, when you have your CLI, for example, you have Docker image. Docker image is the list of available image on your container host. You have Docker run. Docker run is to create a container, okay? It's not like a VM. So for example, you want to create a container, you just do Docker run and the name of the image, for example, and it will create a container of the image. Docker commit this commit change you made to a container to a new container image. Okay, so the commit operation doesn't include data container in volumes mounted within the container. Note that by default the container will be paused as the new container image is created. Okay, you have docker stop, so it's stop running a container, and docker rm, okay, is remove, of course, is remove a container image. You can manage container with Windows Admin Center, blah blah blah. Okay, so you have a lot of way to do that. I'm going to show you how to install, of course, we'll see how to install Docker on Windows Server. But really, like I told you, normally we don't do that. Okay, why? Because we install mode on Linux. Okay, so let's go on our server here, and I want to install Docker. Okay, on this server. So I'm going to go here on PowerShell. Let's put it a little bigger, properties, font. I'm going to go here, and you are interested by using Docker. Okay, first thing is that you must type install module. Okay, and the name for Windows is Docker Microsoft. Okay, Microsoft provider. So Microsoft FT provider. Okay. And the repository for that will be PowerShell Gallery. So repository, remember, it's just a place where you can download your you can install the module. Okay, and we do force here, and he will install now directly our PowerShell module. So I'm going to do yes here. Okay, and after that we must install really Docker. Okay, so let's type install here package. So this is the package that we'll install, package here, and the name will be Docker. And after we'll have to restart our computer. Okay, so it's Docker here, and the provider name, it's Docker MST provider. We have it here, so I'm not gonna do it again. Up here, okay, I'm gonna put it like this. It's gonna be better. Okay, and this is the provider name, it's this one, and here he will install the package here. Okay, and after we have to restart it. Okay, so he will really, the module is really all the command here, and here's the package. This is the software that will install on our computer. Okay, this is for Windows. For Linux it's more simple. Okay, remember that often people use more Azure. Okay, Azure like a service, and they use Azure container services. It's more simple because you don't have to install your server here. You just use your Azure to create your ACI. ACI is Azure Container Services. And after that, I will go and download and run Windows Container. Okay, and I will just search for Microsoft Nano Server. Okay, Nano Server is a very small configuration of Windows. Okay, and now he said that I must restart it. Okay, so I'm going to do restart computer, and voila. So let's see, Jeff. Okay, so I'm going to resume. I'm going to stop it and resume when it's going to be installed. Thank you. See you in just a couple of minutes. Okay, so my server has been restarted. Okay, so I'm going to go back on PowerShell. Yoo-hoo. So PowerShell as an admin, of course. And again, okay. I'm good. I'm okay here. So I'm going to do a cd / and cls. And now I'm going to download and run a Windows container. Okay, so I'm going to verify that the package has been installed. Okay, so if I do a get, so I'm going to go here, and if I do a get package, I'm going to see if it's been installed correctly. So I'm doing a get package, name Docker, and I'm going to do that, enter, and he's going to tell me if my package has been installed. Of course, it's going to be okay. And now after that, okay, so it's okay. I'm going to display whether any Docker image are currently pulled. Okay, so if I type, remember Docker image, so if I type Docker, of course I have Docker now here with all the CLI here, so it's amazing. So I just, I can see all the CLI command. Let's do a first thing. Let's see if I have some image. Okay, remember image is like an ISO. Okay, if I do Docker image, okay, I can see I don't have any image. Okay, so I'm gonna search for Microsoft image. Okay, so I'm gonna do Docker. Normally, really, you never use it on Microsoft, on Windows. Huh? If I search for Microsoft, he will search for all what I have here. For example, I have the Microsoft Teams here, Excel, I have, a lot of things here. I can have also, I can have the Nano Server. So I have a lot of them here ready to be used. Okay, so So to download and run a simple hello world, okay, for example, if you want to download and run a simple hello world test nano server image, you can do docker container run and, for example, hello world, okay. So if I want to download nano server image, okay, so let's say I want to download the nano server image, okay. Remember, you do docker pull, and I'm going to say that I want my image from Microsoft, MCR Microsoft.com, and I want to download an image. Okay, it's like if you download an ISO, but it's an image. Wow, this is really fantastic. I have a course, but it's in French. So okay, nano server, and I want the 1809. Okay, let's see if it's working correctly. So I'm going to pull it, and he's going to download it. Okay, so he's downloading nano server. Okay, so it's extracting. So he's taking nano server. Okay, it's like an ISO. It's not an ISO. Okay, remember, it's very small. Nano server is crazy, and that's all. Whoa, that's crazy. Okay, and if I type again docker image now, you will see that I have now an image here. Okay, so now I'm going to run it. So you're going to say it's crazy. I will have a nano server. Nano server is like a small Windows server. So I'm going to do a docker run. Docker run is to create a docker, okay? And it will be in interactive mode, okay? IT, and the name will be, of course, nano server, okay? I can see nano server here. So if I take this one and put it here, and this is nano server, okay? So nano. Oh, sorry. This is the name of my container, okay? It's nano, okay, let's say nano image, yeah, that's it. And the image, okay, where is it? I'm going to say that it's this one here, okay? So I'm going to take all this and I'm going to type this, okay? So that's it, because it's here, okay? So name, and the image is here, okay? So name, nano image, nano server here, and that's all, okay? And I will open, I will say that I want the lettered one, so it's this one, okay? So it's gonna be this one, okay? Cool. So I have docker run, IT, the name, and nano image, and of course the MCR, and I can see that now when I do run. No, I have it. Now, are you kidding? No, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. I just created an image. Just imagine. This is crazy. Meaning that here, I can do deer here. And I have like a very small, okay? So if I do PS or if I do a GPS, it's okay, it's not working here because I don't have my PowerShell. But I can go in my Windows here, CD Windows, and it's very small, okay? So very small here, okay? So it's very small branding. And if I go back here, okay, so I am in like a VM. I'm like a VM. So if I do exit here, okay, I can do Docker ls, for example. No, it's not Docker ls, it's Docker, let me see what happened. If I want to see all the Docker that I'm running, okay, it's Docker list, I think so, yeah, it's a Docker list. No, it's not Docker list, it's Docker, Docker. Yeah, it's very simple, okay, just have to see, okay, Docker. I can remove my Docker here. I can see PS, Docker PS, that's it. If I see Docker PS here, I can see that there is, of course, one of my VM, okay? So I don't have any here because I went out, but that's it, okay? Wow, that's fantastic. It's really crazy, okay? So of course, Docker PS, we see I stop, okay? Because I just did exit, okay? So if I want to do it again, I go like this here, and I have it, okay? Because I have already in use, okay? It's already in use, so I must go and remove it, okay? Why? Because this is the name of the container, okay? So I can do Docker remove if I want, okay? And he asked me for the container, okay? So I just have to give him the name here. Take all this, okay, and I just normally have to take this, and if I do docker remove, I just have to do that, and normally he will remove it. Okay, that's it. Okay, cool. And if I remove it, of course, if I can recreate a new one if I want, just like this. Wow, amazing! This is crazy. Okay, and really, this is very, very nice. So that's really Docker. Okay, it can be complicated, but if you want, for example, to install Docker on Linux, or it's very simple. Okay, of course. So you can install Docker. Okay, on Ubuntu, for example, if you have Ubuntu here, you know, tell you how to install Docker Engine on Ubuntu here. So you just have to see all this, and yeah, that's it. Okay, and of course we're talking about now Kubernetes. Okay, imagine that you have a lot of container everywhere. Okay, so it can be very difficult to manage all these container. Okay, so the solution is attention, is Kubernetes. So Kubernetes is automating the process, okay, of your container with an orchestrator. So it's an amazing solution, okay? And Kubernetes, the inventor is Google. So Google has invented Kubernetes. So it's used to automate and manage a large number of containers and control how the container, interact with one another. You have other solution like Docker Swarm, okay? So Docker Swarm is other solution, okay? It's a Docker fully integrated container orchestration tools. It's less extensible and complex than Kubernetes. It's a good choice for Docker-specific enthusiasts, okay? So, or you have also Apache Mesos, okay? It's an open source software that can provide management of a container cluster, of course. So when we talk about the Kubernetes, what is it for? Let's see some of the future of Kubernetes, okay? First one is scheduling. So it can find a suitable machine on which to run the container, okay, with a container image, okay. This is very nice. You have affinity and anti-affinities, okay. So specify whether a set of containers should run near each other for performance, okay. So for example, I want some container to run on the other host and some to work, I can have a lot of container work on the same host or different host. You have health monitoring, okay. So he will watch for container failure and automatic reschedule them. Wow. Reschedule them. You have failover, okay? Keep tracks of what running on each VM and reschedule container from failed machine to healthy nodes, okay? You have scaling. Wow. Manual automatically add or remove container instance to match demand. This is fantastic. You can say that you have, Black Friday and you have some web services running on your Kubernetes, and maybe all the Friday you must have more power and after less power. Networking, okay, provide an overlay network that coordinates container to communicate across multi-host VM. And service discovery, enable container to locate each other automatically even as they move between host machine and change IP address. And you have the application upgrade, of course, very, very nice. When you talk about container, it's not the same terms, okay? For example, you don't talk about container, but you talk about pod, okay? Pod is a container, okay? So pod is you can have multiple container in a pod, okay? And we don't talk about, the host, but we talk about worker node, okay? Worker node is where your pod will run, okay? Will run. And here you have your container here, okay? Really with API server, container, schedule, what I told you about. You have after Kubernetes. This is the agent that will talk with the API server. You have the container runtime Docker, network proxy, kube proxy. So that's it, okay? So really, this training is not a training on container, okay? It's just to give you some information about really what is Kubernetes, okay? So this is really amazing, okay? So we're talking about pod, okay? We're talking about worker node. And if you use Kubernetes on Azure, wow, it's crazy because IKS, Azure Kubernetes Services, is all hosted by Microsoft. Okay, so I hope that you have a little more maybe information, more knowledge about what is container, what is Docker. I know that it's very complicated, but maybe it's more clear for you. Okay, see you in the next lecture. Ciao, bye-bye.